Good evening. Today is January 11, 2023. The time now is 5:42. I would like to start with the City Council Successful Agency to the Westminster Redevelopment Agency regular meeting. So roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Nguyen,
Yes, I'm here.
Vice Mayor Nguyen, Councilmember Fan West,
Here.
Councilmember Monzo,
Here.
Councilmember Ho.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Do we have any public comments?
Currently we do, Mayor. We have a couple people with their hands raised on Zoom. The first speaker is Roger Mindrum. Please unmute yourself and you may.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. Good evening, this is Roger Mindrum, resident of Westminster. It's possible my comments are not needed, but I do want to be on the record asking and urging Mr. Mayor Charlie Nguyen to recuse himself from any and all discussions and regarding this case involving the Quan Tree Victory Foundation. It is really so obvious that hopefully he has already decided to recuse himself, as that is the obvious ethical choice to make. Mr. Mayor Nguyen, please do the right thing. Mr. Mayor, please do the right thing. You shouldn't have to ask Mr. Bettenhausen for his guidance on this. It's a no-brainer conflict of interest. It's not an issue of any financial gain, and that it's an ethical issue. It is common knowledge in this community that you were on the foundation for some time. Common knowledge that even if you are not currently on the board of directors, you are still very closely and personally involved with the monument project and every board member. It is also public common knowledge that the cancellation of this monument was spurred by your actions regarding a groundbreaking ceremony at Goldstein Freedom Park that certain other members of the council had a problem with. I've seen YouTube videos, so there is proof of this. You led the groundbreaking ceremony. That was then soon after halted the installation of the monument here in Westminster. And then you were deeply involved, including hosting the ceremony in San Jose when it was installed in a dedication of the monument there. So there really is no question that you have a deep bias and a conflict of interest here. And I urge you to do the right thing and recuse yourself of any and all dealings on the subject of the grievance between Quan Tree Victory Foundation and the city of Westminster. I'm not saying you're doing or have done anything wrong, so there's no accusation here to come back and accuse me of, but please make the right ethical choice. Thank you.
The next speaker with their hand raised is Westminster Watchdog. Please unmute yourself and you may begin.
Good evening, Terry Raines, Westminster Watchdog. Item 1 is yet another case of anticipated litigation. Will this ever end? Item 2 is to discuss the Quan Tree Victory Foundation's lawsuit against the city filed last July after the city rejected a $100,000 claim filed by the foundation against the city in December 2021. At that time, I strongly suggested the city settle the claim for reasonable and verifiable damages, likely $50,000 or less. The city instead denied the claim outright, so here we are. I can assure you this will now cost the city and its taxpayers far more than that $50,000 or even the original $100,000 claim due to legal expenses and other factors. I suspect this is on the agenda because the court settlement conference was continued to next Thursday, the 19th. My guess is legal counsel is seeking guidance from the city council on proposing a settlement. Although Mayor Charlie Nguyen, along with former Mayor Trita, is allegedly no longer on the foundation's board of directors, he should still do the ethical thing and recuse himself entirely from this discussion and vote tonight. He only resigned on paper days before the $100,000 claim was filed against the city in late 2021. Regardless, there is clearly an ethical conflict of interest here. I would direct you all to review AB 1234 training again. The public expects elected officials to act ethically, whether or not doing so is required by law or policy. Elected officials must always consider the perception and optics of their words and actions. It is clear here that the ethical thing to do is to recuse yourself, Mayor Nguyen. Vice Mayor Nam Quan Nguyen, you should also search your soul, if you have one, and recuse yourself as well. For the last 2 years, Nam Kwan has made numerous statements on his YouTube channel in support of this lawsuit against our city. In fact, Nam Kwan's YouTube channel is listed on the foundation's website as one of their supporting media organizations, as is Viet News TV that Charlie's program airs on. And let's not forget who swore in Nam Kwan, the president of the foundation, Van Tran. Councilmember West proudly spammed social media about her endorsement from Van Tran in this last election. In fact, Van Tran fought hard to get all 3 of these members elected in November, even contributing to their campaigns. SB 1439 requires elected officials to recuse themselves if they accepted campaign contributions greater than $250 from those with business before the city in the following year. I don't care that the contributions were made in 2022 and this item is being considered in 2023. Remember, ethical standards far exceed the bare minimum letter of the law. Therefore, all 3 of you should recuse yourselves from this item entirely. The city attorney should then do a random selection of one of you to participate in accordance with state law for legally required participation to establish a quorum to conduct the business at hand. Think about this for a minute. All 3 of these council members are beholden to President Van Tran and or the foundation in one way or another. If tonight's agenda item is to discuss a possible monetary settlement with the foundation in preparation for the court settlement conference on the 19th, Van Tran's 3 puppets, as the council majority, can literally vote to approve a settlement in any amount Van Tran wants. Forget $100,000. It could go as high as $500,000 or even more with absolutely no justification. In fact, this type of scenario and corruption is exactly why AB 1234 and SB 1439 were enacted, to prevent abuse of power and corruption like this. Every cent paid to settle lawsuits is our money, the people's money, not your personal checkbooks. The city attorney and city manager cannot allow this corruption and abuse of power to take place and must protect the city's interest and our taxpayer dollars. Depending on how this agenda item is handled tonight and the outcome here and at the settlement conference next Thursday, I may decide to take this to the media and beyond. I look forward to the city attorney's report of closed session action taken on this item later tonight during the regular meeting. Again, the city could and should have settled this case for less than $100,000 back when the claim was first filed against the city, as I suggested at the time. How much is the city's refusal to do so going to cost us, the taxpayers now? Who's going to be held accountable for it? We, the residents of Westminster, deserve answers to these questions and more. So this is not over. You can bank on that. Thank you.
If there's anyone else on Zoom wishing to speak, this would be the time to raise your hand, please. Mayor, there's no one else raising their hand. That concludes oral communications for.
Thank you. And I'd like to recess to the closed session.
I'd like to make if you don't mind,
Okay, please.
like to make a comment. I thank the speakers. I do feel that it is the proper thing to do for Mayor Chi Charlie to resign, as well as Vice Mayor Nam Kwan and Councilmember West, simply because we all know how deeply how they are beholden to the leader Van Tran. And I just want to make a public request that it isn't right, it is unethical for you to stay on to make a decision on anything relating to this lawsuit, the QT Conchi Monument lawsuit. Thank you.
Thank you. But I'd like to, if I hear you correctly, that you meant for me to resign. Or is it recuse or resign?
I'd like to say recuse. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you. So I'd like to go ahead and recess for the closed session meeting. Thank you.
Could I just have a couple comments?
Sure. Thank you.
I think probably, because these issues are raised and I think they're very important issues. So I want to make sure our record is clear on this. From the city standpoint, it's up to individual public officials to recuse. They have to make the decision to recuse themselves. I can point out the facts. I can point out the law. You have to make a decision for yourself. First of all, with respect to the campaign contribution issue that was raised, that became effective as of January 1st going forward. So that isn't applicable to prior contributions received before January 1st. But with respect to conflicts, and I'll address this with respect to the mayor, that was the primary person that was addressed, but the other public officials as well, the council members, it would apply as well. In this situation, we have a lawsuit filed by a nonprofit, and it dates back to 2020 where the council had interaction with that foundation. There's an agenda item. In order for there to be a conflict, and I've got like 4 different categories here. The first 3 deal with financial, the last one does not. I guess the question, first of all, or actually relationship, if you're currently serving as a board member or a member of the nonprofit, that would create a basis for a need to recuse, okay? 2, in any way where you consulted or otherwise involved in the recent decision to file a lawsuit or otherwise encouraged it, that would be the second item. 3, did you receive any compensation or any benefits of any kind from that organization during the prior 12 months? And that would include gifts of travel or anything along those lines. And then those are kind of the financial or relationship-based ones. But if none of those apply, we would look at the issue of bias. And that's typically a due process type issue that applies with land use decisions. But in this case, we have a lawsuit, so I think the same rules would apply. You act as a council member on behalf of the city and not on behalf of outside organizations. So you cannot be impermissibly biased in favor of an outside person who's suing the city, which basically is do the facts. What the courts have done is you look at the facts and you determine whether the person has a completely closed mind on the subject. Are you able to render a fair and impartial decision in this particular matter, acting solely in the interests of the city and not on behalf or in any way impermissibly influenced by the outside party? So that's the question that you need to be asked. And the council members, whoever it may apply to, needs to decide whether or not they're impermissibly, or do they need to recuse or not. So with that, I guess I would, again, it's up to the council member to make that decision based on what they know, because I don't know all the facts.
Thank you for the clarification. Is there any other?
Yes, thank you. City Attorney, you mentioned expenses as far as travel being one of them. We don't know unless, I guess that in this situation, the mayor disclosed if there was any travel expenses compensated by the foundation to and from San Jose to promote it or the ceremony itself. So unless the mayor had disclosed it, we would not know. Yeah, illegally, I mean, that's one thing. And I understand the mayor's not currently part of that foundation board anymore, but we have taken, the ethics training multiple times, and there, as the caller is specified, that is what we should be more applicable to and honor that ethics training that we've received, and the optics of that is what it is as far as possibly gift the public funds to somebody you're really close acquainted to. That is the perception that a monetary settlement would produce. So the ethical thing, I agree. If I was in that shoe, I would definitely look at that to recuse myself for that reason. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for all comments. Do we have any more comments before I recess to close session meeting? Nothing else. So recess for closed session meeting, and we'll come back later. Thank you.